straight into the roof of the net. Nice one. Straight down the middle. So a good performance from both teams here.
Hello and welcome to Firstpost. I'm Rupha Ramani. Let's get started. The show today is a bit of a dedication to clutch players, the stars who come out shining brighter when the chips are down and no one else can deliver. The superstars who bring out the best when the pressure is immense. Like England cricketer Jos Butler, what is his biggest superstition before any match day? And what does him coming into form mean really for not just Rajasthan but also England? Over in football, Kylian Mbappe, one of the youngest World Cup winners, did the unthinkable and rained terror on a 10-man reduced Barcelona side. Is he the best clutch player in the sport today? We'll tell you why. And speaking of football, can fans really be far behind? Fellow supporters clashing is one thing, but what happens when fans get physical with players? Stay on for the latest violent act in Saudi Pro League. That and more today, but first, Sports 360. Over in tennis, Rafael Nadal made a winning return to courts at the Barcelona Open. Nadal, who was playing his first competitive match since January, beat Flavio Cobolli 6-2, 6-3 in straight sets. The match lasted an hour and 25 minutes. Nadal next plays Australia's Alex de Minaur in the second round. The announcement to award track and field gold medalists prize money at the Olympics in Paris here has met with some backlash. British swimmer Tom Dean has asked the Swimming Federation to also award prize money to the Olympic athletes. Meanwhile, former British rower Kath Bishop and UCI chief David Lappartient believe this decision will damage the spirit of Olympics. In football, German club Borussia Dortmund edged past Spanish club Atletico Madrid in the Champions League. Dortmund won the second leg 4-2 in a high-scoring match. Despite losing the first leg to Atletico 1-2, Dortmund won 5-4 on aggregate to advance to the semi-finals. In golf, four-time major champion Rory McIlroy has rejected rumours of his move to LIV Golf. The pro-Scottish player said, and I quote, "I will play at the PGA Tour for the rest of my life." The clarification, of course, comes after reports said that McIlroy was offered a deal worth $850 million and a 2% equity stake to join the Saudi-backed LIV Golf. Over in basketball, the Los Angeles Lakers beat New Orleans Pelicans 110-106. Despite Zion Williamson scoring 40 points, the Pelicans still fell short. LeBron James was the highest scorer for the Lakers with 23 points. The Lakers will now face defending NBA champions Denver Nuggets in the first round of the playoffs. And to run it off with chess, table toppers D. Gukesh and Ian Nepomniachtchi played out a draw in the 10th round of the FIDE Candidates Tournament. Meanwhile, R. Pragyananda's draw against Vidit Gujarati has put him in the third place. Jos Butler silenced the crowd at the Eden Gardens last night with a display that only champions can really put up. The pressure is on, wickets falling around him, fatigue seeping in, yet he stands there and puts on a show fit for superstars. And there are two things remarkable in that performance, and I'll tell you what those are. But to set it up, give some context. Just when you thought you saw it all, Sunil Narayan scoring a magnificent 100 and reclaiming his place as an opener, a place that he himself had doubted he belonged in. But the return of Gautam Gambhir as mentor at Kolkata and the confidence in the team, especially in every individual, is sky high despite that loss. Which brings me to the reason for that defeat, England's Jos Butler. I say England because he's important now in the scheme of things, not just for Rajasthan, but also for his national side, England. But his dominance in Rajasthan is tied to his dominance in England, and I'll explain. Butler started the season slow, but that's the thing with the kind of talent, the kind of leader that he is in a batting lineup, that you know that a good one is just around the corner. And it came in his 100th game where he scored 100, and that was against Bengaluru. The way he paced himself this season is pretty much the way he played last night. He was hitting the ball well, but as the asking rate rose and the pressure mounted, so did his range hitting. He hit the right stride when it truly mattered and kept going till the end. Now, I mentioned two things about this knock that was critical. Let's talk about the first. A knock under pressure, a cool mind functioning as a storm was raging around him. Butler was the only experienced hand left out there in the middle, and it was a mammoth total. We saw that when Bengaluru played Hyderabad and when Mumbai played Chennai, and the chasing teams for various reasons faltered. But Butler, in similar circumstances, with no support at the other end, and facing a quality attack in Kolkata, did what many others couldn't. He let the pressure build, refusing the singles, letting go of pressure once to wait and score the big hit. He trusted his skill and the composure against the bowling team. In that post-match press conference, he credited two super batters, both chase masters of the game, for the way he scripted this magical innings.
Guys like Dhoni and Kohli, the way they stay till the end and keep believing. You've seen it so many times in the IPL, and I was trying to do the same. That's something Sangakkara has told me a lot. There's always a breaking point. The worst thing you can do is to not fight and give your wicket away. He just tells me to stay there, and at some point the momentum will change. That's been a big part of my play over the last few years.
The two names he takes, MS Dhoni and Virat Kohli, known to be masters of the run chase. They know how to wear down an opposition, especially when the going gets tougher for the batting side. Butler constructed one of the best run chases in this format. The kind of maturity he showed in that situation with no other senior hand across him and his own tiredness creeping up is legendary stuff. He's a leader in that batting lineup, and the way other players hogged him and celebrated him is testament to that. There are very few captains of national sides who revel under another leader, but he shows that that doesn't matter. Sanju Samson may be the skipper of the side, but Jos Butler shows he's a leader in the ranks too. And the juniors out there are all learning from him every day. Everyone I spoke to, from his teammates in Rajasthan, the management in Rajasthan, Mumbai as well, where he was a part of that setup, and the England squad too, say he's the nicest, quietest guys in a dressing room. Very soft-spoken, down to earth. He spends time and gets to know every single person connected to the team he's part of. He stays in touch with everyone, and I mean every single person he's known long after he's not in that setup anymore. And that just speaks of how genuine he is. He's grounded, he spends time with his family, he makes sure he trains every single day before a big game. Personally, I do know he's superstitious as well. In an interview long ago ahead of a World Cup, Jos Butler said he was absolutely inspired by MS Dhoni, and why not? Similar profiles and job profiles, and that answer attributing Dhoni comes as no surprise. And he said he wouldn't eat any round-shaped food before he went out to bat on a very big match day, like onion rings, because that just spelt a duck. I wonder what he ate before this particular innings last night. Superstitions surely didn't do much, going by the havoc he was causing. But here's the other important thing that I wanted to draw your attention to, and that is his form when it comes to, for his national side, England. When Butler does well for Rajasthan, he does well for England. And when he does well for England, England does well in a World Cup. He was at his blistering best for his IPL side in the year 2022. They reached the final there, just fell short to Gujarat that year. He scored 863 runs at a strike rate of nearly 150, 400s in that season, and a near title win. And just after that, at the World Cup a couple of months later in Australia, Jos Butler gets his team across the line, and his bat led the way, scoring 225 runs in the 6 games at a strike rate of 144. So two questions here. Is this Rajasthan's year? They look like they are all set to break that jinx. Kumar Sangakkara, the legendary Sri Lankan player and now mentor, is all in. There's a vibe in the camp. It feels like 2022 all over again. And will England regroup after a horrific 2023 ODI World Cup and make this one memorable? The T20 World Cup is still a while away, but Rajasthan could be turning the tables this season, especially with the way things are going for them at this point. All right, Champions League night, Paris Saint-Germain and Barcelona, two giants of European football, and at stake, a berth in the semi-finals. And heading into the second leg, it was Barcelona who were ahead with their 3-2 advantage. Clearly, PSG already on the back foot heading into this one. And the clash had the perfect setting. Camp Nou, in the city of Barcelona. The Spanish city was all decked up for the marquee clash. It was a big game, and the fans were sensing it. Rowdy fans of both Barcelona and PSG all under one roof, and even before the game started, there was mayhem. Fireworks outside the stadium. PSG fans chucked flares at a bunch of Barcelona supporters. The Spanish riot police resorted to violent measures to pull the sparring fans apart. Take a look. All of that clearly setting up for the big encounter. And clearly this one was going to be nothing short of a battlefield. The excitement and nervous energy from the fans was really seeping into the stadium. Barcelona had the edge heading into this match. They had a slender lead, so the pressure really on PSG was from the very first second of the game. And it didn't start well for the Parisian club. Barcelona's first leg hero, Rafinha, continued his good form. The Brazilian scored in the 12th minute and put Barcelona in a dominating position. Even the loud PSG supporters grew silent right after this. They were now trailing 2-4 on aggregate and all set to lose out here and make way for Barcelona to head into the semi-finals. PSG needed something special to win from here, and some luck too. That came for PSG in the 29th minute. Barcelona's Ronald Araujo was handed a red card and Barcelona were down to 10 men. That angered Javi Hernandez to no end. He let out his frustration on that decision, and that mood spread through the camp. This showed that Javi and Barcelona were really a bit rattled by this, and that is all that PSG needed to stage their comeback. Ousmane Dembele and Vitinha's goals brought back PSG to level with Barcelona. But with 30 minutes left in play, Barcelona and Paris Saint-Germain needed a star to seal victory for their sides. PSG supporters who had gone silent a few minutes back came back to life. Both sets of fans were buzzing and hoping for their team to get across the line. In that tense moment, both the sides needed one player to rise, to shine, and one miracle, one final push. And it was PSG who held their nerve and who stood up for them, French striker Kylian Mbappe. Just like he brought France back into the 2022 World Cup final with his hat-trick against Argentina, Mbappe rose at the biggest platform. But unlike the 2022 World Cup final, where France lost to Argentina on penalties, here in the Champions League quarterfinals, his team ended up on the winning side and eliminated Barcelona from the Champions League quarterfinal. Mbappe brought all the rage for the payback back, for when Barca ghosted and muzzled him in the first leg to score not once, but twice. His performance came after he was criticized for his abysmal show in the first leg, so clearly the youngster delivered when it mattered the most. Pretty odd calling him a youngster. I know he's been around for a while, but people forget he's still just 25 years old. His gameplay may say otherwise, but he's still a youngster who has achieved a lot in his footballing career, and his performance against Barcelona is another milestone chapter in that career. He delivered the reverse La Remontada. For once unfamiliar with this term, back in 2017, these two teams, PSG and Barcelona, were involved in a similar face-off. It was the Champions League round of 16, and the outcome of the match-up was called La Remontada. Remontada, of course, a Spanish word for comeback. We'll set this one up for you. In the first leg of that clash, PSG were ahead of Barcelona, and not by just some margin. They were leading 4-0 in Paris. In the second leg at Camp Nou, Barcelona pumped in 6 goals. The Holy Trinity, Messi, Neymar and Suarez leading that charge, and took Barca into the quarterfinals on a 6-5 aggregate. Quite a comeback. That's the reason the game was christened La Remontada, and here, after 7 years, PSG returned the favour and exacted their revenge. So fair to call it a reverse La Remontada, a super clutch move by Mbappe, who really comes good under pressure. To put Barcelona in reverse gear and get PSG to press on the accelerator. What a comeback story. But there is one common hand engineering this revenge script. He did it on both instances, for Barcelona in 2017 and now 7 years later for PSG. It is the PSG manager Luis Enrique, who helmed the affairs for Barcelona back in 2017 and couldn't contain his excitement.
¿Cómo me siento? Me siento contento.
How do I feel? I feel very, very happy. Very happy. I think my team deserved it throughout. We have been in the game at all times, and we started in a spectacular way. It is obvious that the expulsion plays an important factor, but everything, and the fact that we played against a team for much of the game with one less man, you have to know how to play this type of game to avoid making mistakes. I think the result is fair.
El resultado es justo.
That's some achievement for PSG and especially for Mbappe, who showed the world that if you put him down, he will rise and fight. You give him pressure and he will soak it in and deliver the goods. You push him away from a title and he will do everything he can to try and get his hands on it. Just like the Champions League. He hasn't won so far. It's the one major title he doesn't have, a title he's gunning for, a dream that he has cherished and built since he was little, and all of just 25 seems to be at the cusp of realizing it finally. The most passionate sporting fans in the world are football fans. There's little doubt in that. They somehow feel invested in every game, much like stakeholders of the team or clubs. So much so that the line that separates those on the field from those off it gets blurred. Blurred to a football fan, of course, and quite often. But what happened in Abu Dhabi some nights ago was rather outrageous. After the Al-Ittihad and Al-Hilal Super Cup game, a spectator whipped Al-Ittihad striker, Hamdallah, who was already frustrated after the 4-1 loss. He was involved in a verbal battle with the spectator, and just when he thought it would die out, the fan took out his whip and struck Hamdallah with it. Here's what went down.
Football players and football fans, two entities who cannot exist without one another. It's the synergy between the two that makes football a global sport. From cheers that ring across the stadium when fans clamour to catch a glimpse of their favourite football star, to the loudest boos that fans greet teams and players with who have utterly disappointed them. It's the fans who make the experience of watching football most delightful. But stuck in between these extremities are the emotional spectators, a section of obsessive fans who want their team to win at any cost. And the fervour with which they adore the team they support is as deep-rooted as the hatred towards the opposition and their supporters. Al-Ittihad lost to Al-Hilal 4-1 in the Saudi Super Cup game in Abu Dhabi. Al-Ittihad's forward Abderrazak Hamdallah scored the only goal for his side in the 21st minute, but couldn't prevent his club from a 4-1 thrashing. After the game was over, Hamdallah was the victim of a fan's ire too. In the video going viral, Hamdallah can be seen getting into a tense exchange with a spectator. Frustrated by the verbal battle, Hamdallah then threw water at a thob-wearing fan, and the fan didn't take that action too kindly. He responded by striking the Moroccan with what appears to be a whip. Spectators and players had to intervene to separate the two men before it turned into a fist fight. Saudi Arabia Football Association was quick to condemn the altercation.
Football in Saudi Arabia is a family game, and thankfully, fan disorder is extremely rare. It's why the actions of this so-called fan go against all that Saudi football represents, and we completely condemn the incident. There will be a thorough review of the Spectator Code of Conduct. The review will ensure updated rules and regulations that are put in place to swiftly and effectively impose suitable penalties to help avoid any repeat of such incidents.
This isn't the first instance of fans getting violent after a game. Quite recently, we saw the massive brawl between Hajduk Split fans and Dinamo Zagreb players. The Croatian Super Cup semi-final saw just how hostile fans could get. After Zagreb's 1-0 win, Split fans stormed onto the pitch to attack the Zagreb players, and the matter escalated outside the ground where policemen got injured while trying to stop the fight. And this violent mob mentality isn't just with Croatia or Saudi Arabia football fans. Their neighbour Turkey isn't devoid of such spectators. Supporters of Turkish club Trabzonspor stormed the pitch following their club's 2-3 defeat to Fenerbahce. A massive brawl broke out right on the pitch. Europe's biggest leagues too have faced the brunt of it, and marquee clubs like Arsenal have been on the receiving end. The Arsenal goalkeeper was attacked by a Tottenham fan during the North London derby that took place more than a year ago. Ramsdale was kicked in the back shortly after Arsenal beat Tottenham 2-0. The assaulter was Joseph Watts, and while he thought he hid his identity by covering his face, cameras were quick to spot him, and Watts had to pay $126 for his brazen act. He was banned from the stadium and had to do 150 hours of community work to earn his presence in the stadium again. And these kinds of hostilities are a common occurrence in the biggest of rivalries too, just like the Real Madrid-Barcelona games, the El Clasico. Just like how they produce footballing spectacles, the biggest rivals in the Spanish league have some of the most aggressive fan bases too. Pepe Reina, while playing for Barcelona back in 2001, was also the victim of a similar attack. He was punched from a Real Madrid fan who came out from the stands. The attacker was punished with a fine of over $2,000 and lost his season ticket. Irrespective of the country, irrespective of the stature of the league, the players involved, fan aggression has become a very common sight. While football is nothing without the emotions of the fans, their loyalty towards the club and the passion they display, the fact that a sport can turn into a war zone in the blink of an eye seems just as horrific. And in a world that's growing more polarized by the day, such instances are only bound to increase and intensify.
All right, we did witness the Olympic torch being lit some days ago, and of course, all the teams are gearing up. It's 100 days to go for the Games. Canada, Japan, Australia unveiled their uniforms, and in grand style. Take a look. Stunning visuals and also great messaging there as well by Japan. Australia right by the beach. I'd do that any day. But yes, thank you so much for joining in for Firstpost. That wraps it up here. I'll see you again tomorrow with some more fresh perspectives. Till then, take care.